Well, Danny, a switch of competition with an FA Trophy game against Chesterfield. What's your thoughts ahead of the game?
A massive game, isn't it? It's an opportunity to progress in the competition and get ourselves into the quarter-finals. We haven't been in that sort of stage of the competition for a long time. So look, we play a really tough side, but we're full of confidence at the minute. We've had a few sort of results go against us, but barring a couple of those games, the performances have been very good, and we've put points on the board. So the lads should be up for it. And look, at the end of the day, it's do or die, isn't it? There's no trying to nick a point, or we just want to go and win the game.
I like to say about it, so it's a free hit, isn't it? It's a one-off game, you know, winner takes all. So does that affect preparation at all?
No, not really. I think that we've done our homework on Chesterfield, because obviously it's back-to-back games, so we've done our homework on them anyway. We know that there might be slight differences in their starting lineups because of players that are available and not available, so we have to take that into consideration. But like most games, Henry, we try and focus on ourselves, because I think that we're good enough to do that. So it doesn't really change anything. We set up and we work and we practice to win.
Looking at players we have available, obviously Brad's left us. We have a few other players who might be fighting back in contention, others who have left us as well.
Yeah, look, Brad was a tough one. I don't think there's any secrets of the stresses on the National League at the minute with the finances and whatnot, and unfortunately we didn't want to commit the money that it would do, that we need to commit to keep Brad here to the end of the season without knowing what the situation is with the league. And I think it's a sensible decision from the club to make sure that we try and keep the books balanced without those guarantees of any kind of support. So it's certainly affecting us, and I know that there's other clubs that are still out there signing players and whatnot, but we're trying to do the morally right thing, which is make sure we keep our own house in order. And unfortunately, in that case, that meant that Brad went back. So we wish him the best. He was outstanding with us, and I think that if there was an opportunity to come back here, I know he'd jump at the chance. But as it stands at the minute, we've got to be very careful with what we do with our finances.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know, with all the up in the air commotion with the vote in the next 28 days, you know, financially we'd rather have a club as a whole rather than one player who comes into the club.
Look, we want to compete every week. We want to be a team that's challenging, but it has to be done in a sustainable way. I said that when I first came to the club. It's about building something that's progressive, as opposed to doing things and winning and being successful despite what we're doing off the field. And we're trying to make sure that when the fans can return, they've got a club to return to, and that there's a moral obligation with that. We've been given public money, which we've used to help us survive, and I think if you start spending that irresponsibly, I think there's bigger ramifications than just not having any finances. We've got a club that's built on a community, and everyone's suffering, and there's no reason why we should just be going to do whatever we want to do. And credit to everyone at the club, we're making sure that we're trying to stay as competitive as we can on the pitch, but whilst making sure that the club's long-term sustainability is in place.
And that probably goes for a number of other players who fans have asked about maybe what's the latest with them as well. But looking ahead to our game against Chesterfield on Saturday now, you know, if we win that game, we're only 2 games away from Wembley.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've got to focus on. And we've got a good squad of players. We've got a couple of lads on the periphery that we would like to do new deals with, but like I just said about Brad, it's not feasible at the minute. It's not realistic to do that, and I don't want that to take away from the unbelievable work that the players are doing every day, and the success we're getting on the pitch with the resources that we've got. I think that's a credit to the players. I say it all the time, I don't think the players get enough credit for that. And to be potentially 2 games away from Wembley, what a fantastic opportunity in what is a really dire situation in this country at the minute. It's not nice for anybody, so if we can give a little bit of hope and a little bit of kind of rejuvenation to the area by trying to get into the next round of the cup, then I can guarantee everybody that we'll be giving everything we can to do that.
Look at the last time we played Chesterfield, a 0-0 draw, a resilient 0-0 draw with down to 10 men as well, so we're hoping for a same sort of competition this time around.
Yeah, they're a good side. They've made a lot more signings since then as well. They've strengthened and they're organised. They've got some very talented players, and it's going to be, I'd probably say, a similar outing for what we had with Solihull. Two teams that have backed back themselves to get promoted this season with the resources made available to them. And like I've said, Chesterfield's a massive club, and so when they come to town, you know you've got to be at your best to beat them, and that's what we've got to do. And I think the competitive side, I'm hoping we don't even have to talk about that, because I'd want the players to be like that regardless of who we play. And it's just those little bits of quality, and we saw against Barnet on Tuesday that when we started to piece those little pieces together, then I mean Barnet couldn't handle us really. So it just took our time to get into the game. Hopefully we don't take as long on Tuesday night. And
home advantage this time as well for Chesterfield. So does that play a part in your preparations at all?
I don't think so at the minute. I know that there's a lot of talk of, I've seen in the press about Liverpool and the fact that some clubs like playing without fans because there's less pressure, and you look at Liverpool and you see the atmosphere that's created at Anfield is arguably one of the best in the world, and I think they've suffered from that, and I think we have. I think there's been games where you know that if that tackle goes in or there's a chance created, the supporters and the fans, they get behind you and they create an atmosphere and they create a noise. When we was here against Dagenham, and it just made such a difference to the team. And there's going to be periods in the games when you're not in it, and you need them. They always talk about the 12th man, and I know it's a very big cliche in football, but they are like a 12th man because they can get right behind you. Granted, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they can also cause you a few problems as well. But generally, the supporters here have been outstanding, and we miss them. So home advantage, I don't think that really matters at the minute. I think that it's quite an even playing field for everybody.
But that is probably social media is probably the closest thing to that, is getting up behind us and the team and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know my thoughts on social media. It can be the best or the worst thing in the world, and I think that I understand there's a lot of negativity around at the minute because of the current situation, and sometimes that spills out onto social media and people vent their frustrations and whatnot. But we're trying to keep our environment as positive as we can, and I kind of encourage the supporters to do that as well, and appreciate that, you know what, I know it sounds really silly, every time we travel in you're putting yourself at risk of catching COVID because it's everywhere, and the lads are trying to do everything they can to keep the club safe so we can keep putting players on the pitch, so we can keep playing games, which means the supporters got something to watch every Tuesday and Saturday. So yeah, I think we've just got to stick together, and I think that goes for all supporters at all clubs. Let's just stick together. It's really uncertain times, especially for steps 1 and 2 of the non-league system, and I think that the in-house bickering and everything that's going on amongst all the clubs and whatnot, it's not really helping. Let's just stick together. What will be, but let's just make sure as a community that we're doing the right things to keep everybody safe. You mentioned our game against Dagenham. Chesterfield's last game was against Dagenham, a 2-2 draw with down to 10 men for them as well. What did you watch the game? What was your thoughts? Yeah, no, look, as I said, they've got they're a very well organised side, and they've got some tremendous footballers, and that's what we've got to prepare for. We've got to prepare for a really tough game, and we know it's going to be that. And if we're going to be successful, we've got to be at our best. But as I said to you, every time we do this, that's no different. You look at the results in the league, you look at the teams that put runs together. When we beat Altrincham away, they were in the bottom 3, and they're now in the playoffs because they've put a run together. I said to the staff on the journey home, I don't think we'll realise what a great result that was at Altrincham until we get to the new year. And it's nice to be proven right to a certain degree, because I thought they were excellent, and there's no different with any of these teams. I mean, they're on a good run, Chesterfield. So it's going to be a real interesting game.
Are you in with a shot? More information below. Click here for the next video, click here to subscribe.